Members of the bowling club, how are you all, particularly Graham and Fred? Have you here today with us? What age did you sign up?
18,
And where did you do that?
at Drummoyne.
And what did they give you a special letter in the regiment, or?
No, you applied to join, and you didn't have any selection whatsoever in where you went. They just allocated you where they needed you most. So we were allocated to Greta, but they couldn't send you overseas until you were 19. So we had to wait. After Greta, we went to Toowoomba, which had 80 pubs. And
80 pubs?
80 pubs at Toowoomba. They've still got a Borneo segment up there. And then we went to Townsville, and then we went up to the Tablelands, up to Atherton.
What were you doing there?
Training on the field guns.
Oh, okay.
Training all the time. And there's one down in the park down in Manly.
Oh, one of the guns from up there. Okay.
Well, I don't know where it came from, but in the park at Manly. And then we went down to Townsville in 1945 and went overseas to Morotai, a place called Morotai, which is at the very tip of New Guinea. And from there we went to Balikpapan in Borneo. And we went on what they call landing ship transport, flat tops.
Did you see any action?
Yeah, I saw enough.
Where was that, Fred?
In Borneo, in Balikpapan. And I was the bloke that pulled the trigger.
On the big artillery?
And the 25 pounders, yeah. And there were 6 on a crew, a sergeant and 5 others. And as I say, I got 6pence a day extra for being the gun layer.
What actually did they pay you?
What do you mean?
A week? Did you get paid to be in those
got
days?
6, and I got 6 bob a day plus 6 was
Wow.
6 and 6 a day.
Wow.
And they had what they called deferred pay, which you didn't get until you resigned. And that's what I bought this land for, my deferred pay.
This is your land at North Balgowlah.
Yeah.
And what did you pay for it, Fred?
I was got at. I paid £375.
And what year was that?
1948.
48?
1948.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. £365.
Wow.
And I built, and I finished building in 1955.
That's marvellous. And you have no regrets about joining up?
No, brothers' uniforms on. I used to tie them on and stand in front of the mirror.
Yeah. That's what all the young guys did in those days, didn't they? The young men of Australia, they just wanted to get out there and fight for Australia, and it was an adventure.
It was an adventure, I'll tell you.
And when you're up in Queensland, did you cut cane? Was that part of the training?
No, that's because they were short of people to cut cane, and we couldn't be sent overseas. We'd finished our training.
And picking fruit.
And fruit?
Shepparton.
And the fruit down in Shepparton, yeah. One of the owners came in one day and said, who works with horses? And I said, I did, because my sister had a horse. It was a 2-horse dray with the fruit cart on the back, and one of the horses was blind. So you can imagine driving that through Shepparton without any experience.
But you were driving the dray?
I was driving.
So you didn't have to pick the fruit?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you picked the fruit and drove the dray?
Thank you for coming to this service, and a special remembrance to all Seaforth members who have passed away, together with members' friends and relatives. We gather here today to observe the 105th anniversary of the landing of the Anzacs at Gallipoli and to pay homage to all servicemen and women who gave their lives in all wars. In the beginning, Anzac Day tradition did not need to be defined. Former members of the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps who fought in World War I, including survivors of Gallipoli, were still alive, and when these veterans gathered to remember their mates who did not return, there was no need for explanations. From the time of the first Anzac Day ceremonies, the tradition has been shaped by ritual, but it was experience that gave it life, and that experience was painfully renewed in a new generation World War II, and the tradition was strengthened. The ranks of those who served in World War II are also thinning. The members who served in later wars, including Korea, Vietnam, Timor, Iraq and Afghanistan, are comparatively small. Those veterans from World War II are becoming older and slower. Age is wearing them, and with each passing year, the Anzac Day march becomes more poignant. The veterans still march with the same pride, but there is more of a shuffle along their strides. It is good to note that the younger generation is taking an increasing interest in Anzac Day. At the dawn service, watching the march and making the pilgrimage to Gallipoli and France. And it is up to us to make sure that the Anzac Day tradition is continued, well after we have passed on, by educating the younger generation. For the old servicemen and women, Anzac Day is still a reunion, great and sad. For the years been the added sorrow and the realisation that more mates have passed on during the year and that others are not fit enough to march. The observance of Anzac Day has changed over the years, but its essence has always been a unique and powerful meditation of sacrifice. The sacrifice of Australians who have fought and died in wars. The fact that many reunions are held in hotels has never diminished their emotional impact on their importance. If veterans want to meet over a beer to remember their mates, so be it. These reunions have always been as much a part of Anzac Day as the dawn service itself. Already Anzac Day is distinguished from other holidays. It is solemnity, its respect for history and its reverence for sacrifice in defence of our great country. Although some Australians scarcely know what Anzac Day means, and others have no time for a thought, our way of life has had to be defended more than once in battle, and the growing support of Anzac Day tells a story about us. The day is no longer just about Gallipoli. It is about us. It encourages us to explore our heritage and about the sacrifices of many brave men and women. If past veterans could see us now, would they say we are building a nation worth dying for? Anzac Day has never been a celebration of war, even when the numbers marched were much greater than they are today. Nobody likes war. We are not glorifying war, but we are meditating to the sacrifice of Australians who died in war. The fact Gallipoli was a defeat which saw nearly 5,000 die in 8 months. There was no victor in war. Just ask the loved ones and friends of those killed in Iraq and Afghanistan. Some Australians question our current involvement in the Middle East, and some changed since their youth, and many ask what all the sacrifice has been for. Perhaps Australians' involvement in these remote parts of the world is not to preserve what has to change, but to preserve the freedom and tolerance and the concept of a fair go known to Anzacs, and they cherished still by us all as the birthright of all Australians. The tumult and the shouting dies, the captains and the kings depart. Still stands thine ancient sacrifice, a humble and a contrite heart. Lord God of hosts, be with us yet, lest we forget, lest we forget.